I am continuing my reading. What I'm doing in this series is to read through the entire standard works of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. This consists of the Bible, the Book of Mormon, the Doctrine and Covenants, and the Pearl of Great Price. I am reading in a chronological order of events, not according to publication or volume, so I will be skipping around a bit as I move along. So we are continuing in Ezekiel. This will be the last full chapter in Ezekiel, chapter 48. This will also conclude his vision about the Latter-day Temple. I also want to mention that this video does have a Joseph Smith translation in it. What the Joseph Smith translation is, this is an inspired translation or correction of the Bible done by Joseph Smith to restore those passages that had been lost over the years. So let us read this. Portions of the land where the tribes are named, gates of the city bear the names of the tribes. The name of the city shall be, the Lord is there. Now these are the names of the tribes, from the north end to the coast of the way of Hethlon, as one goeth to Hamath, Hazar Enan, the border of Damascus northward to the coast of Hamath. For these are his sides, east and west, a portion for Dan. And by the border of Dan from the east side unto the west side, a portion for Asher. And by the border of Asher from the east side even to the west side, a portion for Naphtali. And by the border of Naphtali, from the east side unto the west side, a portion for Manasseh. And by the border of Manasseh, from the east side to the west side, a portion for Ephraim. And by the border of Ephraim, from the east side even unto the west side, a portion for Reuben. And by the border of Reuben, from the east side unto the west side, a portion for Judah. And by the border of Judah, from the east side unto the west side, shall be the offering which ye shall offer of 25,000 reeds in breadth and in length as one of the other parts, from the east side unto the west side, and the sanctuary shall be in the midst of it. The oblation that ye shall offer unto the Lord shall be of 25,000 in length, and of 10,000 in breadth. And for them, even for the priests, shall be this holy oblation toward the north 25,000 in length, and toward the west 10,000 in breadth, and toward the east 10,000 in breadth, and toward the south 25,000 in length. And the sanctuary of the Lord shall be in the midst thereof. It shall be for the priests that are sanctified of the sons of Zadok, which have kept my charge, which went not astray, and when the children of Israel went astray, as the Levites went astray. And this oblation of the land that is offered shall be unto them a thing most holy by the border of the Levites. And over against the border of the priests, the Levites shall have 25,000 in length, and 10,000 in breadth. All the length shall be 25,000, and the breadth 10,000. And they shall not sell of it, neither exchange, nor alienate the first fruits of the land, for it is holy unto the Lord. This is kind of confusing on the layout here, but it sounds almost like they're redoing the camp of Israel. You have in the center the temple and the Levites, and then circling around it, starting in the north, you have Dan, Asher, and Naphtali. And then you have Manasseh, Ephraim, but then you have Reuben. And Reuben's supposed to be on the south, while Ephraim and Manasseh are on the west. So it's similar to the camp of Israel as they came out of Egypt, but not exactly the same. But it does seem to be that this is a ring around the temple, that they're given their lots in the same style. Maybe not the same locations, but the same style as the camp of Israel. It's kind of interesting there. Now, the priests and the Levites both get their own separate portion, and it seems they get an equal portion to each other, 25,000 long and 10,000 broad, two pieces set next to each other. I'm not sure if it's actually the same piece or if it's two different pieces. I'm a little confused on that one, but that's just that last portion there is just kind of reiterating what was said in the last chapter. Verse 15. And the 5,000 that are left in the breadth over against the 25,000 shall be a profane place for the city, for dwelling and for suburbs, and the city shall be in the midst thereof. And these shall be the measures thereof: the north side 4,500, and the south side 4,500, and on the east side 4,500, and the west side 4,500. And the suburbs of the city shall be toward the north 250, and toward the south 250, and toward the east 250, and toward the west 250. And the residue in length over against the oblation of the holy portion shall be 10,000 eastward and 10,000 westward. And it shall be over against the oblation of the holy portion, and the increase thereof shall be for food unto them that serve the city. And they that serve the city shall serve it out of all the tribes of Israel. All the oblations shall be 5 and 20,000 by 5 and 20,000. Ye shall offer the holy oblation foursquare with the possession of the city. Now we're getting even more confusing because they're giving us somewhat different measurements here. But when it says this place shall be profane, right? It says what is that are left, the 5,000 that are left against the 5 and 20,000 shall be a profane place for the city. What this is saying is we have the sanctuary, we have the temple complex, and we have that piece, that portion that is set aside for the priests, and that's the city. And then everything around that is for other people. That is the suburbs. That is where if you're going to work in the city, you're going to serve in the city, and everybody, all the tribes will take their turn working in the city and serving the city. And while they are doing that, they will live in the suburbs that are around the city. But the measurements right now, I mean, if I really took the time, I might be able to make some sense out of them, but it's a little confusing because it says what's left of the 5,000. And so we have 4,500. That leaves 500 left over. But then it says 250 on each side. That would be the 500, but it's just a little confusing on the measurements there, but let's not dwell too much on that. The important thing is we have the temple is in the center, the sanctuary. It is then surrounded by the priests and Levites, their portion, the oblation, the stuff that is consecrated to God and the service of God. And then surrounding that is the profane area, or the suburbs, where the rest of Israel who will serve the city dwell. Verse 21. And the residue shall be for the prince, on the one side and on the other of the holy oblation, and of the possession of the city over against the 5 and 20,000 of the oblation toward the east border, and westward over against the 5 and 20,000 toward the west border, over against the portions of the prince. And it shall be the holy oblation, and the sanctuary of the house shall be in the midst thereof. Moreover, from the possession of the Levites, and from the possession of the city, being in the midst of that which is the prince's, between the border of Judah and the border of Benjamin, shall be for the prince. As for the rest of the tribes, from the east side unto the west side, Benjamin shall have a portion, and by the border of Benjamin from the east side unto the west side, Simeon shall have a portion, and by the border of Simeon from the east side unto the west side, Issachar a portion, and by the border of Issachar from the east side unto the west side, Zebulun a portion, and by the border of Zebulun from the east side unto the west side, Gad a portion, and by the border of Gad at the south side southward, the border shall be even from Tamar unto the waters of strife in Kadesh, and to the river toward the great sea. This is the land which ye shall divide by lot unto the tribes of Israel for inheritance, and these are their portions, saith the Lord God. And these are the goings out of the city on the north side, 4,500 measures. And the gates of the city shall be after the names of the tribes of Israel, 3 gates northward, 1 gate of Reuben, 1 gate of Judah, and 1 gate of Levi. At the east side, 4,500, 3 gates, and 1 gate of Joseph, 1 gate of Benjamin, 1 gate of Dan. And at the south side, 4,500 measures, and 3 gates, 1 gate of Simeon, 1 gate of Issachar, 1 gate of Zebulun. At the west side, 4,500 with their 3 gates, 1 gate of Gad, 1 gate of Asher, 1 gate of Naphtali. It was round about 18,000 measures, and the name of the city from that day shall be, The Lord is there. So the rest of the tribes all given their portions, and again, it's surrounding the temple. But you have all these guys on the north side, and you have the temple in between them, and then you have the prince's lot. They're separate from the rest of the tribe. From the rest of the tribe, you have the princes. Then you have the rest of the tribes. But note, Ephraim and Manasseh are each given their own portion of land in the inheritance, because Joseph is given a double portion. As the birthright son of Jacob, he gets a double portion. However, the gates going into the city, there is not a gate for Manasseh and a gate for Ephraim. There is a gate for Joseph, because in that city, the 12 tribes are equal. Because in the celestial kingdom, everyone is equal. Everyone is the same. Outside that, we have some division, but in the celestial kingdom, everyone is equal. Now, there is this one very brief Joseph Smith translation here. This is on the very last verse. Remember, it says, and the name of the city from that day shall be, The Lord is there. But Joseph Smith corrects this. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense. But Joseph Smith renders this, and the name of the city from that day shall be called Holy, for the Lord shall be there. So it's not actually naming the city. It's not giving us a name. This is most likely a rebuilt city of Jerusalem. But the name of the city will be considered a holy name because it is where God dwells. God will live there, and therefore the name will be made holy by his presence. Anyways, that will finish this out. This vision is done. We do have a very brief portion back in chapter 29 of Ezekiel to finish out the book, and then we will return to our histories a little bit. So we will see you there.